So good morning, everybody, and good afternoon and good evening in Israel. My name is Ophir Gutelzon, co-founder and leader in Unacceptable. And we are in almost day, I think, 700 of the war. It's not there yet, but we're almost there. 50 hostages are still in the tunnels in Gaza. Innocent civilians and horrible things is happening in Gaza, and 80% of the people of Israel is calling to end the war and bring them home and surge aid. So we are trying to do our best to make this war end. And there is always those questions about why does it keep going and who has the interest of keep going, keep it running, and what are the interests in between all the parties. And that's why we are hosting today Dr. Udi Levy, which I think we are going to refer to you as Udi from now, if that's okay. Let me add the spotlight. Perfect. Thank you, Levy. So I'll give a quick intro to Udi, and then Udi will present himself as well, because I'm sure I will not cover everything. So, to those of you who doesn't know Udi is the former head of the Mossad's Terror Financing Task Force, which is known as Harpoon, a man whose career has been dedicated to understand and combating hidden financial networks that fuel terrorism. Udi, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
And we are going to start first with a little bit about yourself. Why are you doing what? Why is it so important for you? I mean, you're probably like 5, 6 years, 10 years since you left. You've been out of the Mossad. You can tell us more why it's so important for you and how does it all connect? And we will dive in, and we will separate it to 3 stages. Before the war started, so when Harpoon, what is Harpoon? When did we stop? This terror financing stopped working in the Mossad. The financing of Hamas post October 7, and if we get all the way, we'll also go to the financing of the GHF. So Udi, give us a little bit about yourself and why it is so important for you what you're doing right now.
Okay, so thank you very much. I start my career in the Army in 1981. I joined to the intelligence unit A200. And after 10 years, when after the uprising, the Intifada, what we call, started, I asked to move for another unit to be like the intelligence officer in the Judah and Samaria, and to move to be in Ramallah. And I'm telling you the story of my career because it's very correlated to what we are going to speak about, the Qatari issue and all the financial aspect related to terrorist organization. When I have been in Judah and Samaria, I have the privilege to meet every day with all ranks of people. I'm speaking about people in refugee camps, people from the villages, politicians, people from the Hamas, people from the Fatah. And I remember, because it's like a stamp in my mind, that the first information about the financial aspect of Hamas not came from the Israeli intelligence or from the other side. I'm speaking about 1992, 1993, when the people, the Palestinian people, people from the Fatah, from the PLO, came to me and told me, Captain Udi, this is how they called me. Captain Udi, do you see what is going on here in Judah and Samaria? I said, what is going on? I see we are in the middle of the Intifada. There is a terrorist attack, etc. They say, no, no, we are speaking about the money that's going from outside and building the alternative to the PLO or to the civil administration, hospitals, schools, uh, wealth institutions, millions of dollars. And in the first time, someone came to us and say, you have to be aware about the huge amount of money that coming to the territories. And I remember that I came to my bosses and I told them, look, nobody doing anything, but look what the Hamas doing with this money, how they are building all the huge infrastructure, how they are making the war, the brainwash to the people, how they are changing the climate and everything. And look how the Palestinian are worse because this agenda. And I remember that my bosses came to me and tell me, oh, this is very, very interesting. We have to raise it to the highest level in the army. And we had a meeting with the general that was in charge all the West Bank. And we came to the meeting with the head of the Israeli security agencies that they are in charge to fight against terrorism. And in this meeting, I remember very much how the ISA say, look, we in charge to fight against terror. We are not in charge to fight against mosques. We are not in charge to fight against schools. We are not in charge to fight against hospitals. And we are not in charge to prevent money, the flow of the money to the West Bank. We have
We're
to
talking
concentrate.
about 1992, like before
1992.
the Oslo Accord? Okay.
Yes, it was 1992. And it was amazing because nobody wanted to deal with this phenomenon. I want to emphasize this is exactly what is going on today in Europe and even in the United States. But I'm speaking about what happened with us in 1992 because nobody want to deal with this aspect. And I'm speaking then when I understood, when I started monitoring that we're speaking about hundreds of millions of dollars that coming from outside to finance this activity. And in this period, in 1992, the main financier of Hamas was Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United States, and Western countries. When I say United States, I'm not meaning the United States as a government. I'm speaking about charities based in the United States that send a huge amount of money. And in that period, nobody want to deal. Nobody want to cut the flow of the money. The only person in Israel that was very interesting about this phenomena he is like my father. He was like my father, Major General Meir Dagan. Meir Dagan came one day to my office. He was in charge for all the special operation unit. And he told me, I heard that you made the special work, special research about the financial aspect of all the radical Islamic group. And I say, yes. And I presented to him, and he said, oh, we are crazy. We are running every day about terrorist by terrorist, but we are not going to do anything about, against the mosquitoes, against everything. And he decided that he wanted it to be part of our campaign, but he was alone. In 1996, after we retired, he asked by the prime ministers to establish the Bureau for Counterterrorism that became later the National Security Council in Israel. And then he picked up the phone, called me and say, Udi, do you want to come to join me to the prime minister office, to the Bureau for Counterterrorism? And I immediately say yes. And why he offered me this? Because he said, I want that we, from this bureau, one of the issues that we will concentrate will be fighting against terror financing. I don't know if you know, but in Israel, and I think that the United States and other places is the same, when you decided to take any authority to deal with something like that, immediately all the other organization jumping and say, no, 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 no. Nobody want to take any kind of from his responsibility. It wasn't in this case. Nobody saying anything. You can do whatever you want because the financial aspect, we're not putting a damn about it. It's not interesting. And then we start to operate, and then we start to try to build something to that we can convince uh, the other country to cooperate. Because when you are fighting against terror financing, you have to build cooperation. It's not only cooperation, internally cooperation. What does it mean? It's not only the intelligence services, you need assistance from other elements in your country that familiar how to deal with financial investigation, like the police, like the tax authority, IRS, and other elements. But because the money is like the water, you need the cooperation, the international cooperation, because moving of money can start in Australia, moving to Indonesia, and then Europe and Dubai, and then finally coming to the West Bank or to Gaza. So you need cooperation. But in that period, nobody want to cooperate with you because nobody deal with this aspect. We don't have all the time on the world, but only one. I will give you one example to understand. We try to convince the American to join us, like a task force in that period. And then we found in the first time information that how Hezbollah is counterfeiting the super bill, the $100. In those days, the Americans say nobody can counterfeit the super notes, nobody can do it, but we have a huge evidence how Hezbollah with the North Korean counterfeiting the super. We say, oh, this is amazing for us because then we can come to the American and maybe we will convince them then that we can do something. We came to the United States, Meir Dagan and me and the other, with all the evidence, and immediately we go to the FBI. We went to the FBI, we showed them, and the head of the FBI told us, hey, look, this is very, very interesting, but I'm not in charge about counterfeiting currencies. So if you want, go to the Secret Service and present it to the Secret Service. So we went to the Secret Service, we met with the head of the Secret Service. Oh, this is amazing. He said, please tell me how much money they are counterfeiting. I have to admit that we didn't know exactly. Surprised from the question, but we said we estimated $50 million. He started to laugh. He said, huh, $50 million is nothing. It's not influence at all the American economy. So we will not do anything. We say, yes, but you know what is from terrorist organization, $50 million? He say, terrorist organization, go back to the FBI. I'm not joking. This is not a joke. This is a serious, this is a real story. What was the reaction in the world about this issue? What has changed everything is, of course, September 11th. September 11th changed all the mind in the United States. And in the first time, they understood that one of the main issues that they have to do is to fight against terror financing. But in Israel, it was another change. We had a new prime minister, Ariel Sharon. Ariel Sharon totally support that we will establish a special task force, a special unit subordinate to him to fight against all the financial infrastructure of terrorist organizations. And then he decided to establish Harpoon. And he gave authority to this group to do almost everything all over the world, operation, to get intelligence, to do whatever they need to fight against terror financing.
Just to give the sense of timeline, this is after second Intifada, after Chomat Magen, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And then we established Harpoon, Meir Dagan, and me, and we start to build the Israeli capability. And after a long time, the prime minister decided that Meir Dagan will be the head of the Mossad. But in parallel, he decided that Meir Dagan will continue to be in charge for Harpoon. In the first time, I have to admit, in the first time, there is one rejection from the head of the ISA, Israel Security Agency. Today he is a minister, Avi Dichter, that say, no, I not agree. Major General Dagan cannot be the head of the Mossad and in charge of Harpoon.
And just to remind people, the Harpoon is a terror financing.
Yes, Harpoon, yes. Harpoon is the special unit that fighting against terror financing, and after we got the mandate to fight economically against Iran. But the prime minister say, okay, I heard you, but this is my decision. And then Mr. Dagan took this unit to be part of the Mossad, subordinate directly to him. This is something very unique. And he put me the head of the unit. And then he started to invest in huge efforts to fight against terror financing, Hezbollah, Iran, and the...
Are we talking before the disengagement or?
It's before the disengagement.
Before the disengagement, okay.
Yes, of course. And
in 2005, yeah.
It was amazing because in that period when the United States changed their mind and starting to fight against terror financing, put all the authority or all most of the authority to do it by the Treasury. And we have open doors in the Treasury. With all the other elements, we start to build something amazing to fight against terror financing. And we did an amazing job together, not only against Hamas, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, but even against Iran in that period. And it was fascinating timing. Something important changed after September 11. Saudi, in the first time, understood that their decision to finance terrorist organizations as part of the idea that we can buy silence and security by paying money, crashed. After September 11, they understood that it doesn't work because most of the terrorists came from Saudi Arabia. And not only this, in 2003, people do not understand. They don't know exactly about it. In 2003, bin Laden, in the first time, tried to make, it's not a revolution, it's a coup, to change the regime and to do, of course, by using, it's like a military attack against the Saudis, and they understood that they have to change their mind. And then they did something that, in my point of view, it's amazing. And I hope that all of us will understand and we will adopt it even today, because they understood that the main problem from their point of view is the Muslim Brotherhood, that they opened the gate to the Muslim Brotherhood in the hand of the 50s when the Egyptians fight against them, and then they run away from Egypt. They run away to 3 places: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait. They understood that they made a big mistake because the Muslim Brotherhood taking control all the system of the education and the religious. And then they did something amazing. They removed all of them from all the position in the mosques and in the schools and the education system. It's very important because what we see today in Saudi Arabia, what we see today, the openness, the willing to make a peace with Israel, it's related because they change generation. We're speaking 25 years after what they did. they change the population. This is something very, very important because if we are speaking about to build something, and it doesn't mean if I'm from the right side or from the left side, you have to give the ability to the people to do it. And the ability to do it is only if you're taking control about the education system and the religious system. But, and this is something very important and related to Qatar, but there is no vacuum in the Middle East. When Saudi Arabia left, the main sponsor of all the terrorist organization became the Qataris. Became the Qataris, and now the Qataris, with the full support of the Muslim Brotherhood, adopting the strategy, very dangerous strategy, that on one hand, we are going to buy the world, on the other hand, we are going to sponsor the radical Islamic group and to build the capability of the Muslim Brotherhood to make finally the Islam to come back to the ancient timing. And since then until today, Qatar became the most sponsored of all the radical elements all over the world. There is no, in my research, and I didn't mention I made PhD, I'm a doctor for Middle Eastern study, but my expertise is the Muslim Brotherhood, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. So I'm not only expert about practically because I running after the money of the Qataris and the Saudis and the other, but even from the perspective of the university and I study alone and I read a lot of books and research about
Udi,
what they
let me
did. Yes.
let me try to bring you forward to
Yes.
2016 is when Netanyahu is back to power. 2016 or 2015, I think.
But before he was
Yeah, so from 2009, right?
yes.
2009. So after the disengagement, 2009, and he's back to power, and Tziltzal and Harpoon and the terror financing is still running.
Yes.
And Meir Dagan is still the head of Mossad?
No, Meir Dagan left the Mossad in 2010 and then replaced him Tamir Pardo, but Tamir Pardo was full commit to Tziltzal, to Harpoon. It's still working very well in his period. We did a lot of things in his period.
So something has changed, and let's talk about what has changed and what happened during this time when Hamas is in. Hamas is basically taking over in 2007, and they
Yes.
need money. Not just they basically need money to run a country, not just a state, or basically running the ongoing life in Gaza because they took over. What's happening during this time, and how did it change over the years?
First of all, I want to say what was our policy as Harpoon. We always believed, and we can prove it, that we can cause or we can change policy or even to cause to organization like Hamas and Hezbollah and even the Iranian to change their policy and even to collapse, to destroy them totally by using the economical tool. Because there is something very easy to understand. Without money, you cannot do anything. What we can do, this is truth. And our policy was to try to cut and to do everything to cut the flow of the money to the Hamas. In that period, since 2000, even before 2009, we fight totally against charities and other elements that finance Hamas, of course, including the Qataris. I myself was in charge to outlaw charities related to the Qataris, to Al Thani family, because they were involved in terror financing. And not only that I did it, I'm speaking concretely about very famous charities called Qatar Islamic Charity. I even convinced the American to put them in the blacklist. And for me, Qatar was enemy. And what happened that Hamas start to lose a lot of money because they didn't have a lot of sources because we fight against it with the world. We convinced the world to fight against Hamas. And then, after the Palestinian Authority, Abu Mazen decided to cut the monthly support to the Hamas. Because even after 2007,
Udi, just to clarify here, because I think it's not clear. So again, so the taxes money that Israel collects on behalf of the Palestinian Authority is basically
yes,
heading to the Palestinian Authority.
the Palestinian Authority is sending part of it to Gaza.
And Palestinian Authority is
Yes. And then in 2010, 11, Abu Mazen decided that he is not ready to continue to finance Hamas. Great, my point of view, great decision. My government said, no, this is a very bad decision. Why it's a very bad decision? Because now how Hamas will continue to manage Gaza Strip. I thought that this is very, very important because then this is the pressure that we believe that will cause the Hamas to lose the position. And then in 2012, surprisingly, in the first time, we got the message that the Prime Minister decided that the Qataris will give monthly support to Hamas. I came to my boss, the head of the Mossad. I told him, Tamir, someone asked you about it? He said, no, nobody asked me. I said, how someone can get a decision like that without consulting with us? We're in charge. He said, Udi, nobody asked me. Then we understood that this is something that this issue will be closed between the head of the National Security Council, the Prime Minister, and the Qataris. In that period, the head of the National Security Council was Yossi Cohen. Nobody say anything. But this decision caused a huge damage. Let me explain. One, the world that cooperate with us, country came to us and said, hey, what is going on? You ask us all the time to fight and to prevent from money to come to the Hamas in Gaza. What are you doing now? You are allowed Hamas to get money from Qatar. So the willing of the Western country to continue to cooperate, fighting against Hamas financial infrastructure going down. But secondly, what happened is, we have to understand it, for the Israeli intelligence community, all the aspect of fighting against terror financing is very difficult. They feel this is like something that is not naturally issue that the intelligence agency want to fight against. They believe that they don't have the expertise. And secondly, I'm very sad to say there is no glory behind it. What? To shut down money changer, to outlaw organization. This is not a big operation.
This is not a beeper product, right?
Yes. So immediately the intention of the intelligence community to deal with the aspect of finance Hamas in Gaza going down too. So by one decision, all the idea to fight against Hamas financial interests in Gaza almost collapsed. And on 2000, I decided to retire in January 2016. First of all, because after 15 years, I think it's enough. And secondly, I saw that it will be very difficult to continue in the policy of fighting against terror financing. And the third issue, we have to admit, I saw from the beginning that Yossi Cohen, that nominated to be the head of the Mossad, this is not something in high priority. I left, but I didn't left the, let's say, the idea to continue to run after terror financing. I became consultant of government, banking, and other elements, and start to monitoring what's going on in the world. And of course, in that period, Qatar, every place that I go, I saw the fingerprint of the Qatar. And on 2017, this is something very important. This is something amazing. 2017, May 2017, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Bahrain, and Egypt declare war on Qatar. What was the reason? They didn't open on, of course, military war, but they cut the relationship and threat Qatar that they are going to invent and to make invasion to the Qataris. What was the reason? Two reasons. One, they blame Qatar that they are financing terrorist organization, and they blame Qatar they are undermining the regime by using the media and influence and promoting the Muslim Brotherhood. It's amazing because this is something that we all the time said. We said all the time, look what the Qataris are doing. And now coming Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, and Abu Dhabi and the Emirates and saying the same. And 7 months later, from nowhere, Israel decided that they are allowed to the Qataris to pay every month $30 million in cash to the Hamas in Gaza.
Let's pin on that for a second. I mean, you were saying that the Israeli government, headed by Prime Minister Netanyahu, in 2017 approved to transfer $30 million a month in cash.
In cash.
So no control on the money.
Exactly. One, since September 11, there is no cash in the world. You cannot move cash. This is the one step that the American did to prevent from terrorist organization and from everybody to move money by using cash. Israel, against everything, decide, yes, we will allow to bring money to the Hamas by cash. If someone will come and tell me that there is option to monitor what Hamas will do with the money, I will say that he is a liar. It's impossible to monitor. But two other aspects.
Was it in shekels or dollars?
Oh, this is a good question. We have to understand. The only currency that's working in Gaza is the shekel. The dollar going to only one purpose, to smuggle it. When you want to smuggle, you are paying to the smuggler by dollars, not by shekel. So why states of Israel allowed to the Hamas to bring dollars to Gaza Strip and not shekel? Of course, okay, you decide the cash is one thing, but the dollar, they didn't ask the supervision of the banks. They didn't ask anybody. This is decision against the done between the head of the Mossad, Yossi Cohen, and the prime minister. This is something that until today, I don't have any real understanding what was behind it. Why you are taking decision like that. Now, if someone think that this is enough, that the Qataris gave only the $30 million per month by cash, it's a huge mistake. I have to admit I have the privilege, if someone can say privilege, I asked by the IDF to make analysis thousands of documents that we quote in Gaza Strip along the war, and specifically to concentrate about the financial aspects. And my last work there, and of course, I made a full analysis about Iran. It was amazing to see how the Iranian financed Hamas before, but it was very interesting to make the analysis about the Qataris. And it was amazing to see how we saw them, we called it, we saw them as ally, and what going on behind the scene between them and the Hamas. First of all, the $30 million was only the beginning. They pay money to in a different way. The military wing, they help the Hamas to finance their military activity in Lebanon, to give hundreds of millions of dollars to the headquarters, to the people in Qatar. And this money go to Turkey, and from Turkey, it's going to the Gaza Strip. And they did everything. And I want you to know, especially the audience from the American. In the paper, you see how they are doing everything that the Abraham Accords will not fulfill. They did everything that it will be failed because they didn't want, and they said that they are doing it against the interest of President Trump in this first period. And what is amazing that we found that part of the tunnels, not tunnels, Qatar helped Hamas to rehabilitate the Gaza Strip. They built neighborhoods, they built hotels, but nobody knows that from the beginning, from the planning, it was tunnels inside the buildings.
The tunnels that today the hostages are being kept in Gaza City.
And there is one paper that I remember how the Hamas get very sophisticated cameras from the Qataris. Those cameras that they are putting all over Gaza Strip. Those cameras that unfortunately many soldiers killed because they identified. And who gave? The Qataris gave. So now, after all this, to call them that they are not an enemy?
You're jumping to something that is really, really important. I mean, because when Netanyahu just interviewed after the Qatar gate, and we need to jump into that as well soon.
But even before.
Okay, so even before you're saying that people didn't consider them as an enemy state.
Not only the people, everybody. Because after September 11, I will tell you a story that people will understand. Many of the family of the hostages came to me and asked my advice. I'm a free person, I said, the only way to release the hostages, that is now, please don't be surprised and don't be laughed. Israel will declare now that the Qataris have 48 hours before Israel declare war against them. I said that the Qataris has in their hand the full tool to convince Hamas to do it, if they will understand that there is a real threat against them. And then the family came to me after they discussed with few peoples. And you know what those people told them? Don't listen to Udi, he is the enemy of the states of Israel. I am the enemy. Why? Because I said that we have to fight against Qatar. This is the reason that made me enemy? Never mind. After a few months, the family came back and say, no, Udi, you're right. Qatar is the key. But nobody wants to do anything against Qatar. Not the American, nobody. I say, yes, of course, because they know the world. Nobody is not ready to take any decision because nobody opened his eyes along the year to see what the Qataris are doing. And today, to get decision against the Qatari, it's very difficult.
It's super interesting what you said right now, Udi, about this recommendation and the connection to the photo that was just released yesterday of Jonathan Urich in uniform in the headquarters of Israel without any classified authority, and just thinking that he was working for the Qatari and you were considered as the enemy of the state.
Yes, of course. It's not only Urich. Unfortunately, look.
And just I'm just jumping because again
No, you're jumping because we don't have
I just want to say
speak
Only
about it.
Ulrich was the closest aide to Netanyahu for many years, and he's part of the Qatar gate that we need to jump into talking to you about. But yes, keep going. Sorry, Woody.
We have to understand, and this is not, we are not doing it. Qatar is not the main issue here because about Qatar you can speak a lot, but Qatar have a strategic plan. The strategic plan, because they are a mix, Al-Thani family and the Muslim Brotherhood going together. They have a strategic plan. The plan, it's fascinating. I think they stole from us the Jewish genius, if I can say something like that. It's genius. On one hand, we will buy the world. We will buy. I'm serious when I'm saying we will buy the world. But we will buy the world. We will buy people. We will buy politicians. We will buy lobbyists. We will buy critical infrastructure. We will buy students. We will invest huge money for the next generation that will support us. We will make the brainwash. On the other hand, we will do everything to undermine the moderate regime and terrorist organization in parallel. In parallel. And this is exactly what they did. And if you check very carefully, Israel is only peanuts in their big problem. They did it exactly, step by step. In Europe today, they cannot do anything against the Qataris because the Qataris buy them. The Qataris invest. If you go to London, you land in Heathrow, it's belong to the Qataris. You are going to see football, it's belong to the Qataris. You are going to hotel, it's belong to the Qataris. Politician, Qataris. Lobbyist, Qataris. They are taking the best lawyers, everything. Qataris. The same in France, the same in Germany, the same in United States. They buy everything. Now,
but what was the part where they started to buy people in Israel?
Oh, it's very, very important to buy people in Israel because the Qataris have a huge interest that they will be the only one that influential the Palestinian case and what's going on in Gaza. Why? Because Hamas is like their baby. They will not give to anyone to remove Hamas from the power because Hamas is part of them. This is part of the deal. States of Israel, we will be the, let's say, the mediator. We will finance them. We will close you a big deal with the issue of finance of Gaza Strip, but we are the only one that you are consult with us about Gaza Strip. Secondly, why they need people around the prime minister, because they need to influence his decision. The third question that we have to ask, why they need so many people from the military establishment. This is something very, very sad that they penetrate to the military establishment. Because they need them, first of all, the idea. I don't know how do you know, but unfortunately, a lot of Israeli give them a lot of proposal how to protect themselves, what kind of technology to sell them. But we are living like in a dream because part of this technology go to the Hamas. And then the second issue, they try to buy people inside Israel, to bribe people, and unfortunately, all over the world, I say, as a Jewish, the best advisors that they have, the Qataris, is a Jewish one. They're taking the Jewish to be their advisor, the lawyer. Uh, Unfortunately, people from Chabad.
I just shared on the chat a link from 2017 where they basically made a trip of all the big Jewish leaders from the US to try and whitewash I think before it was before the World Cup. Yeah.
Yes, therefore, in the World Cup, it was a great example how they bribe all the world.
I want us to just, I want to stop you for a second because I really want to dive deep into where we are right now. So right now, Qatar is the main negotiator for the hostages. Qatar is basically we have the U.S. government. Most of the leaders of the U.S. government was either a Qatari lobbyist, registered Qatari lobbyist from Pem Bondi and others, and of course Witkoff that is really working hard to get the hostages is having deals with Qatar and Kushner. So Qatar is basically leading everything that we all are fighting for, is ending the war and bringing the hostages back. But they're also doing something really weird, which is also, according to something that you said potentially on Channel 12 that was removed from some reason, you were also mentioning that now someone needs to finance the humanitarian efforts. And it sounds like we are going back to the same cycle. So let's in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and we will get longer because it is super important to cover that. Cover like what is the situation right now with Qatar and the Netanyahu's government, and does it make sense to say that? I mean, we all know that Smotrich and Netanyahu consider Hamas as an asset, so they will not. So they will separate between the PA, Palestinian Authority, and Hamas. So there will be never a Palestinian state. Does it make sense to say that we are still in the same situation where Hamas is still an asset being financed by Qatar to continue the war?
Of course. First of all, we have to understand that Hamas still getting money to Gaza Strip.
How do they get money?
Because unfortunately, we didn't do almost anything against the money changer in Gaza, and the crypto is still working, and the humanitarian assistance is running inside, and Israel still didn't do anything to try to drive the cash of the shekel in Gaza Strip. We didn't do anything. There is still a lot of money in Gaza Strip. 6 months ago, Hamas robbed, the billion shekel from the banks in Gaza because Israel didn't took the money when it was necessary. It was in the bank's safe, and Israel didn't do anything. So Hamas still have money and still getting. Secondly, the Qataris will do everything that in any solution, Hamas will continue to be part of the leader in Gaza Strip. They will not forgive about it. This is a strategic tool from their point of view. This is the reason to ask them to be the mediator. If they really want to be a mediator, they have in their hands the main tools. First of all Hamas leaders still in their country living like kings. Secondly, most of the bank account is still in Qatar related to the Hamas. The third issue is they are still the main financier of the Hamas, and they are going to be the main element that will recover Gaza in the future. Nobody will do it. Nobody will spend billions of dollars to recover Gaza except the Qataris. So the Qataris understand it very well. We are not that we are not understanding. Maybe this is interest of us that will not be kind of agreement that will allow us to continue to fight and to fight and to fight.
Udi, what do we know about do we have any concrete knowledge about Netanyahu aides or Netanyahu's family being involved in any of those money transfers or money? I mean, like you mentioned that there are information out there. I mean, like, is it possible that there are even blackmailings in Netanyahu's families and others? What do we know about that?
This is something very, very sensitive. Not sensitive. This is something very sensitive. Of course, the Prime Minister tried to hide any involvement. Uh,
And
but as I
just to
said,
remind everyone, Netanyahu promised to sue you for those things and he never did.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. The problem with Netanyahu is not me. The problem with Netanyahu is the world. As I said, and I repeat, there is a lot of investigation regarding the financial infrastructure of Netanyahu families all over the world. Some of the country, I know exactly what is going on inside. And Netanyahu has to be worried, and I think that he is worried that this evidence will go out and will show his bad connection to those elements. I think that it will be very soon, not not something that will take years. I think that putting this information that I know part of it because, as I told you, I'm working with the government in other countries. There is more and more evidence that show that Netanyahu family, let's say something like that, Netanyahu families, uh, was connected to Qatari's elements and got financial, uh, let's say financial money. And look, and when we're speaking financial money, it's not always that you will see that someone paid to the other side. For example, if you have a company and you're part of the company, and the Qataris invest in your company, this is something very interesting because maybe it's related to other issue that you gave to the Qataris in other aspects. I think that anyway, I think that the Qatar gate today, according to what I know, and I'm not familiar with everything, it's going slowly, slowly, but it's going to show, um, unfortunately, it will not be directly uh, how Netanyahu family got money. It will be the people, the very close people to Netanyahu. But I think it will be, we will raise a lot of questions about the involvement of the government of, sorry, of Netanyahu family and he himself in this infrastructure. There is a lot of things that you don't have any answer unless there is something behind it, something that we are not really understand now, and maybe we will know very shortly.
Yeah. And I would want to, I want you to take us just toward the end into the ability to understand in general. I will put it on the screen, but we just keep hearing many questions about Qatar Gate. And I'm looking at the Slido for some of the questions that people were asking. And the main question is like, when you have someone on the floor of the main, like the deepened room of the Prime Minister Netanyahu door, and you have them being paid on the payroll, and we have someone like Jay Futlik now being asked for arrest warrant. Jay Futlik was a Qatari lobbyist that financed some of the people in Netanyahu's office. What would you recommend when people are being asked in the US? I mean, they're really supporting Israel. They really want people to actually fight for ending the war. Is there anything locally you can do with American officials to try and push further to Qatar, or is it still going back to the decisions of Netanyahu and the Americans. It's not up to Qatari to make those decisions.
I think that you asked me here a few questions. First of all, you asked me about what is the meaning that people like Ulrich and Einhorn and the other, that they are from the head of the Prime Minister office. I can tell you, I'm coming from the intelligence agencies. One of the main mission, Mossad and other agencies, CIA, is to recruit people that sitting on the ear of the leader. This is the mission.
So just to clarify, you were saying like, let's make an exercise. What would you do as a Mossad agent if you wanted to be if you wanted to control the Qataris, for example?
To find someone that sitting on the ear, or very close to the ear of El Thani, Mohammed El Thani, for example.
The Prime Minister of Qatar.
Yes, exactly. This is the guy that can do two things. First of all, to tell me what is his intention. Secondly, he can whistle to say very important things to the leader, something that I want that he will do. This is not less important than to get information. To influence the leader, this is very, very, look, we as Mossad agent, if we are doing something like this, on the Independence Day, I'm coming to the president to get a special honor about this operation. This is unbelievable operation. And in Israel, it's coming like that. This is something that nobody take care. This is something amazing from the achievement of the Qataris in operation like this. This is something unbelievable. Unbelievable what they got from those people. And if you had that they have people like people from the Mossad and the other that give them full consultant. This is amazing what the Qataris built.
And Udi, I want you to just give a tip. I mean, like we're 1 year exactly after the 6 hostages was murdered, Hersh and Carmel and Sarusi and others, the 6 hostages that amazingly after that, there was an uprising in Israel. And then there was, I just put the link, what we call the Bild document that was influencing the population in Israel to basically assume that protest is just the goal of Hamas. And we now know that those people are under investigation. Those were influenced and worked for Qatar, which is part of Qatar. And so just to kind of give you, connecting you all the dots, like how Qatari.
You're right.
Yeah.
And look what was the main target of those elements, Futlik and the other, is to convince the Israeli to throw the Egyptian from the negotiation and that the Qatari will continue to be the only one. This is one of the number one mission. And this is exactly what happened. And then you heard someone like the head of the National Security Council that say, oh, Qataris is very good. What's very good? They killed us. They killed us. They was involved. They were in charge for October 7. How you can come and say that they are good, we need them, or the Prime Minister will say that they are a complicated country. No, they are not complicated country. They are a terrorist country. They are an enemy. They are the enemy. And we have to understand it. And if we will continue with this policy, the meaning will be that Qatar will recover Gaza again. And the next October 7 will be not because we didn't destroy Hamas or we conquer all Gaza. It's because we allowed the Qataris to rehabilitate Gaza.
Wow, that's tough. I mean, so one last thing is that we mentioned Yossi Cohen. Yossi Cohen was, again, the head of national security when the decision to start moving money to Qatar started back in 2012, I think you mentioned. And then in 2016, Yossi Cohen was the head of Mossad that together with Netanyahu decided to close the Harpoon
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
finance terror part of the Mossad. And now Yossi Cohen really wants to also become prime minister, as he mentioned yesterday. And we do know that there are flights that were going to by the Mossad and also by the current Mossad head, Barnea. Uh, do we know what's the relationship between Yossi Cohen and Qatari, and does it connect anywhere? Can you connect us all the dots anyway?
First of all, let's see what will be in the next few weeks. I will not be surprised at all if Yossi Cohen will call by the police and the Israeli security agency to give his testimony. I don't know if it will be under investigation or only his testimony about Qatargate, because Yossi Cohen have to say few things about it. In his period, many things happened between the relationship with Qatar, many ununderstanding decision will accepted, and according to my knowledge, we have to check even his business with the Qataris. And the last issue, and you raise it, there is few questions that nobody has the answer. Why Yossi Cohen, for example, in October 8th, taking a private jet and flying to the Qatar? It's not done on behalf of the head of the Mossad, the current head of the Mossad. He said that it didn't was his mission. Yossi Cohen did it few times. Why? Why it was so urgent to go to the Qataris by private jet? I don't know who financed the private jet, but this is a lot of money. What happened there? The family, I can tell you from the family of the victim and the family of the hostages, that in the beginning of immediately after October 7, Yossi Cohen all the time came to be part of the family. They say that they understand that he's doing it. This is not, I've not been there. They told me to listen what is going on. And they have the suspicious that then he go to the Qataris to tell them exactly what is going on. I don't know if it's true or no, but this is something that the connection between Yossi Cohen and the Qataris has to be checked, has to be investigated. Personally, I believe that it will be done very soon in Qatargate issue.
So I would want to take one more question from the Slido, and we covered most of them, I think. And one of the question is related to the back to the tunnels. I mean, the tunnels themselves are being dug, and we saw yesterday a picture from the air that Ahmad Fouad Al-Khatib showed. I mean, do you assume that the tunnels are still intact? I mean, I hope that they're I mean, the assumption is that those who hold the hostages, I hopefully are still intact, because otherwise the hostages will be dead. But is that something that Israel can really eliminate? And if so, can Qatar help? I mean, with that part on forcing the Hamas to do that. And I would add on that. I mean, like Qatar is not anymore hosting. I mean, or actually, I would ask, are they still hosting the Hamas leaders in Qatar and now maybe in Turkey? And how do they influence them in this way?
First of all, let's start from the end. Yes, Qatar leaders are still there. They didn't leave. The Qataris threat that they are going to throw them, but they didn't do it. They are still living in Qatar, still making money, still getting money, living in good hotels. It's not easy for them to go to Turkey and other places, as they said. The best from them is to continue to be in Qatar. Regarding the tunnel, look, the tunnel is unbelievable project that Hamas the Hamas did. I can't tell you that
Was Israel aware of that?
if we were aware of that. I think that the Israeli community uh, was aware about the tunnels, but if you ask me, not the extension. Not, this is unbelievable project. And I personally understand today how much money they need to build something like that. This is a huge amount of money to dig the tunnels, the construction, the cement, the irons. It's a lot. It's cost them millions of dollars. But what is amazing that nobody understands exactly. Look, nobody know what's going on with the sand because when you are digging, you have to send the sand to another place. There is a rumors today that I don't know if it's true because nobody investigated that they sell the sand to Israel. They sell. They send it to Egypt and from Egypt to Israel because we don't have enough sand in Israel. And of course, the cement.
Who was buying it in Israel?
Of course, the companies in Israel. If you check very carefully, you can see that in the last 10 years there is increase the import of the sand from Egypt to Israel. So I don't know if it's true or not. That one of the main problems, and we have to understand it, that nobody really want to investigate a lot of things in this issue. Nobody want to investigate. There is not any committee, anything that will investigate all the aspects of the October 7th, the financial aspect, what they did with the humanitarian system, what happened, nothing. So this is the reason that I'm really scared that if we will not investigate and we will not give a solution to those problems, tomorrow morning we will see the same. Regarding the tunnel, yes, it's a problematic because if the Qataris they rehabilitate Gaza Strip, undoubtedly that they will, unless someone will going to monitor exactly what's going on in Gaza, if it will be, I don't know if it's possible, but from let's say the willing point of view of the Qataris, yes, they have a full willing to support to continue that Hamas will be very powerful in Gaza.
Yeah. So just to end up, we are obviously all worried about the humanitarian effort going to Gaza, and we know that the Israelis was holding back humanitarian for almost, I don't know if it was like 3 months or 2 months, and then they set up the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and you were interviewed in Channel 12, and this interviews was removed from was edited out, and I mean, and you were mentioning that no one really wanted to finance this operation other than two other entities. Can you elaborate on that, and can you try and explain us? Does it mean that again, I mean, like, in one hand, we want humanitarian aid to go to Gaza. Is it actually going to help Gazans, or is it helping someone else?
Yes, the world want that humanitarian will go to Gaza, but they want that it will be moved by United Nations and the international organization. And of course, not the model that Israel felt. And according to their opinion, it's not my opinion, it's not a good mechanism. It's not a good mechanism. This is the reason that most of the country, I think almost all of them, are not ready to take part.
In funding the GHF?
Funding, exactly. Even though I have a lot of criticism about the world humanitarian assistance, and this is something that the world have to understand and to learn. If you are sending money and assistance and you don't have any mechanism to check how this assistance finally going to the population, what you are doing, that you are sponsoring, finally you are sponsoring terrorist organization. Because this humanitarian assistance, this money that you are sending, finally going to the terrorist organization, because if you are not monitoring, this is exactly what's going on. Now let's go back to the jail. Now Israel built the mechanism. We have to finance it. So if nobody in the world ready to finance, there is three elements that ready to. First of all, the states of Israel, they're trying to hide it because it's not popular. Israel now financing humanitarian assistance to the Gaza Strip. Secondly, it's the American. I don't know if they like it or not, but I think that because they support the government of Israel, they're doing it. And the third, yes, it's the Qataris. The Qataris always ready to finance and to give assistance. This is their interest. So again, we are finding ourselves in a common interest with the Qataris.
What I mean, the GHF spokesperson said that also there's Western Europe countries doing that. Is it what do you know who is relating to?
Unfortunately, no, I'm not sure that it's true.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we will start to wrap up. We covered the financing of Hamas before October 7. We covered the Qatar Gate very briefly, and I shared, and I will keep sharing with you clips that we translated and read the articles on the Haaretz with that the reporters are doing an amazing job covering that. There is a lot of things going on, but at the end, I mean, we need to understand that we are still not seeing anything for the day after plan. We're still seeing people that are in the government of Israel trying to avoid saying that they are going to ruin Hamas, but they are not looking for alternative to Hamas. And they are keep flattening Gaza and killing innocent people just for the sake of continuation of the war. And of course, they are not bringing back the hostages. So that's all the dots that we wanted to cover: Hamas, the Netanyahu government, and Qatar. And Udi, I want to really thank you for joining us. It was in a way enlightening. It was also very scary, and we can deep even more probably for the. I mean, I usually say that the Qatar Gate in Israel is probably nothing comparing to the Qatar Gate that if someone would want to research and investigate in America and in the rest of the world. And people were already indicted for Qatari money in Europe, I think, probably.
Yes, you're right.
So it's not new. So we will keep digging into that. I want to thank Neri for co-hosting, and I want to thank Regina and Janet for translating to Spanish, and to all of you who are joining and keep pushing forward because that's all connected at the end to saving Israeli democracy and continuing the idea that we must resist this messianic theocracy coup, and it's all connected together. Udi, many, many thanks. We will share the recording on the YouTube channel, and I'm sorry for those questions I couldn't take from the Slido. Next time we'll take more questions.
Thank you very much.
And have a good night. Bye-bye.